Good evening. Being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome and thank you, everyone. Public comments is the first item on the agenda. Do we have somebody? Scott. Oh, okay. So I have to read the public comment statement first. So the public comments period is intended for the public to share ideas and concerns. It is not intended for any interactive discussion with the council. There may be opportunities for public comments during specific agenda items that require a public hearing. Members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to questions or issues under discussion during this time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times, while in session, conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks or become boisterous while addressing the council. Scott, please follow these rules.
It's good to be a habit.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Scott Frazier, Coos Bay, Oregon. My heart rate always goes up, and my ears turn red. But anyway.
Your yellow jacket highlights everything.
Okay. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world and our country today. You know, we've got the economy's a worry. The gas is going through the roof. There's a lot of strife and uncertainty. And war, but I was reading the Bible, and it says, and I know we've got protests about President Trump, but it said, Romans 13:1, let every person be subject to the government authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resist who God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. And I thought about the protests, you know, no kings. And so this spoke to me about that. Instead of protesting, we should pray for people. And that goes for the leaders of Iran and Israel, President Trump. And so that's what I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Scott. So before, is there any other public comments? I saw somebody walk in. This would be the time. You don't need to be signed up, but you can definitely come forward and make a comment if you like. All right. Also, I wanted to mention that Councillor Stevens is online virtually with Carmen Matthews, Councillor Matthews. So they'll be there on the agenda, on the virtual this evening. So next item on the agenda is consent calendar. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Action items, approval of the 2026 Arbor Day proclamation. Did you want to read that, Lucinda, or somebody else? Oh, yes, absolutely. Nicole, please.
Yes, thank you. Arbor Day is a day in which individuals and groups are encouraged to plant trees. Today, there are many countries across the world that observe the day, which is usually observed in the spring, though the date does vary by depending on the climate and the country based upon their planting season. We here have celebrated Arbor Day via a proclamation for many years, and it was originally started in 1872. J. Sterling Morton is the person who brought this forth to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture, and initially it was around just the planting of the trees. For us, we are going to ask that we establish April 24th as Arbor Day here in the city of Coos Bay. And this is a benefit to us as well, considering our Tree City USA status. So
how long have we been in Tree City, USA? Do you know?
Oh, that is a great question. I do not know that. I know if Greg was here, he would be able to tell us. But
30 years.
It's been a while.
Pardon?
30 years.
30
yeah,
years?
I was going to say decades. So
Appreciate that. All right. Any questions for Nicole before we start? Okay. Lucinda, you want to give it?
Sure.
Please?
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and the city of Coos Bay was designated a Tree City, USA in 1994. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas Coos Bay has been recognized as the Tree City, USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting endeavors. And whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And
Now, therefore, I, Joe Benetti, Mayor of the City of Coos Bay, do hereby proclaim that the last Friday in April shall be observed as Arbor Day in the City of Coos Bay, and I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and our woodlands and to support our city's community forest program. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. So with that, Council, I need a motion, please, to adopt this proclamation. Do I hear it?
I'll move to approve the proclamation establishing April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day within Coos Bay.
And a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt approval of the Arbor Day proclamation. Any comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is approval of the National Volunteer Week proclamation. A little background, Nicole?
yes, thank you. National Volunteer Week for 2026 is the week of April 19th through 25th. We recognize in the city of Coos Bay that, but for the effort of our volunteers, much of the work that we do to provide service and amenities to the community would not be a possibility. We have over 170 community members who volunteer in various ways as firefighters, reserve police officers, parking enforcement, park hosts, not to mention the many committees and boards that we have across the city, which help the council come to conclusion in many of their decisions. So they are a significant body of folks doing a lot of great work, and this is our opportunity to acknowledge that great work.
Thank you. So I understand. Troy, are you going to read this for us?
Sure.
Please. Thank you.
Whereas National Volunteer Week has been observed annually since 1974 as a time to recognize and promote the spirit of volunteerism that strengthens communities across the United States, and whereas National Volunteer Week 2026 will be observed April 19th through 25, 2026, with a focus on shining a light on the people and causes that inspire us to serve. And whereas this year's observance aligns with the nationwide America Gives initiative, which seeks to generate the highest number of volunteer service hours in honor of America's 250th anniversary. And whereas the City of Coos Bay is proud to have dedicated volunteers who give their time, talents, and energy to serve on advisory boards, support local programs, assist in emergency services, and contribute to the overall well-being of our city. And whereas these volunteers, our everyday heroes, build community resilience, offer hope in times of need, and strengthen the fabric of our community through their compassion, generosity, and commitment. And Whereas National Volunteer Week is an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the impact of volunteer service, inspire others to get involved, and reaffirm our shared commitment to civic engagement and community well-being.
Now therefore, I, Joe Benetti, Mayor of the City of Coos Bay, hereby proclaim April 19th through 25th, 2026 to be National Volunteer Week in the City of Coos Bay, and I encourage all residents to join in recognizing and celebrating the extraordinary service and contributions of our community volunteers and find ways to serve in honor of this important milestone in our nation's history. With that, please, I need a motion and a second.
I move we approve the proclamation celebrating National Volunteer Week in Coos Bay.
I'll second.
Been moved and second to approve National Volunteer Week proclamations. Any comments? I have one. I just want to mention and thank all the volunteers that mentioned by Nicole, 170. Without these volunteers, and we could not operate this city in the fashion we do. So it's greatly appreciated. We also have groups and organizations on top of that volunteer and help do many things throughout the city. Again, without their help and assistance, we wouldn't be able to have the city and be proud of what we have. So I am honored and proud to have the volunteers that we have. So I wanted to thank you personally. And with that, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is consideration to adopt Resolution 26-08, Coos Bay Heritage Resource Disaster Resilience Plan. That's a mouthful, Chelsea.
As always, anything land use is going to be a mouthful.
Of course.
So,
At least don't have that big packet to read, right?
right. The City of Coos Bay holds the status of Oregon Heritage All-Star Community, and having had this designation has afforded us to do this heritage resilience planning work. The work was funded by a FEMA Natural Hazard Mitigation Grant Program through their program, and the work was led by a consultant at University of Oregon through their Institute for Policy, Research, and Engagement. And so it took place over the course of the last year. We have the consultant's representative, Amanda Ferguson, online, who will give you a little more details about the outcome of the work. But in the end, we're asking that council would accept it, adopt it by resolution, with the emphasis that we want to append this plan to our multi-jurisdictional natural hazard mitigation plan to ensure that the heritage resilience planning work stays up front and center, because we have to regularly review that natural hazard mitigation plan. And it'll also kind of increase our opportunities for funding to continue to do this heritage resilience work. But having said that, I'll turn it over to Amanda, who's online and has a presentation.
Welcome, Amanda.
Well, thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I really quickly want to share my screen, and I want to tell you that I also am shared in this presentation with my coworker, Ellie Stapleton, who will be helping me do this presentation, actually. So let's make sure I get the right one. So I am, as Chelsea said, my name is Amanda Ferguson, and I am with the Institute for Policy, Research, and Engagement at the University of Oregon. And we have been with the State Historic Preservation Office working on this disaster resilience planning project around the state for the last 2.5 years. Started off in Cottage Grove as a pilot project and then moved to multiple other cities, including Salem and Bend, Astoria, Coburg, and now we have the privilege of being able to do this for the community of Coos Bay. I want to make sure, are you seeing my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I know that we don't have a whole lot of time, so I do want to really quickly let you know that all we're going to do today is kind of overview the project objectives, some of our key findings, and then discuss some of the resilience strategies that we have come up with, although Ellie will show you how very many there are, and then what the next steps are. And then we will give it back to Chelsea to talk about the resolution itself that is before you. Anytime that anybody wants to ask a question, please go ahead and do so, or we can hold those questions until the end of this very brief conversation. So the project objectives that were initially established by the State Historic Preservation Office are really to help communities that are All-Star Heritage communities that have already come together with multiple agencies and nonprofit groups to support their own heritage, to identify those heritage and cultural resources within the context of vulnerabilities to those resources, and then create a plan with strategies to protect those resources. So the intent was to engage the community and to create a plan that is taken through adoption as in tonight, and then hopefully into implementation. When we initiated this project, we went through all of your existing planning documents. We read everything we could possibly read about Coos Bay, as well as many of the planning documents that had been created by your Heritage Also partners, such as the Art Museum and the library and your Downtown Association and the various other groups that support heritage within Coos Bay. We took that information and took our hazard mapping that we've been working on as part of your natural hazard mitigation planning process and combined that resource inventory to get an idea of where that overlap was and where our issues are in Coos Bay. We also did a lot of community engagement that included a community-wide survey and tabling at the farmers market, which was lots of fun, and an extensive number of interviews with the heritage partners in the community. We also attended a couple of the All-Star Heritage Committee meetings to keep them informed of our process throughout and get additional feedback, which led to some key findings that I'm sure will feel very precedent to you. Obviously, flooding, tsunami, and sea level rise are primary concerns within the community. Downtown Coos Bay's location within that floodplain is already a major issue, and as the projections for climate change are showing that sea level rise will have a growing concern in Coos Bay. Obviously, it becomes a big issue in the future. And many organizations have taken steps to protect their own resources, but they are concerned about the community as a whole. Cultural resilience is a huge piece of obviously anybody who lives on the coast of Oregon. That is part of who we are and what we have done. And just the concept that you've adopted the tree, that you've been working on heritage trees and planting trees for over 100 years shows that's part of your cultural resilience. But there is some strategies for that. A big challenge is certainly going to be making sure that some of these cultural resources that we're so concerned about can be relocated potentially in the future to higher ground or protected in place. That's going to take a coordinated multi-jurisdictional framework to make that happen. Economically focused messaging to bring the community that is really more the business community in line with the heritage community and get them to be working together. And obviously more secure funding, not surprising as well. But I'm going to switch from those findings, which kind of led us to work with the Heritage All-Star Committee to develop goals and strategies, and give it over to Ellie to talk about those goals.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amanda. Well, as you can see from the numbers up here on the screen, we had no shortage of wonderful ideas that emerged from the community and from this work. To make this plan really as easy to follow as possible, we developed a hierarchical structure for outlining our goals and recommendations. And essentially the way you can think of this is as this pyramid. So we have 6 goals laid out in the plan, which I'll go through in a moment. These are really broad aims. Underneath those 6 goals, we have nested within them 17 strategies, which are specific approaches that we're recommending for tackling those goals, a little bit more tangible things. And then a layer below that, we have a total of 69 ideas for implementation. So these are really detailed action items that we're recommending for enacting the strategies. And an important thing to keep in mind here is that there are probably more than 69. There's certainly more than 69 ideas that you as a community can come up with. And so with this structure, for each of those 17 strategies, we believe that we're providing a really robust start with these 69 ideas, but hopefully as this plan is a living document that the heritage community and the broader Coos Bay community may come up with additional ways of helping meet these goals. So as just an example of what the document is laid out so you can get a sense of this, when you open the document, you'll see a lot of the information that Amanda just went over in much more detail, but then you'll see a chapter on these resilience strategies, starting with as I mentioned, goals at the high level. So our first goal, as an example here, is to build community capacity in the heritage sector. That's a big aim, and it might be hard to understand how to implement that on its own, which is why we have strategies nested beneath that. So our first strategy, 1.1, is develop shared training and planning tactics for heritage organizations. So you can see we're getting a little more specific about how we'd go about addressing that goal. And then finally, beneath that, you'll see a list of several implementation ideas, including the one that I've called out here, create a shared cadre of volunteers to work across heritage organizations. So once we get down to the implementation idea level, you can see that we're really thinking about specific things that you could check off a to-do list and really achieve. And then before I close, I just wanted to share the 6 goals. So we don't have time to go through 69 implementation ideas, but I did want to share the high-level goals. And you can imagine that just as on the last slide, we saw strategies and implementation ideas below each one. Each of these has a robust set of strategies beneath it as well. So our first goal, we've already talked about, is building community capacity in the heritage sector. Our second goal is acknowledging natural resources as critical heritage resources. We heard again and again how important the environmental context of Coos Bay is, and we have a lot of strategies about how to have that be an important part of the planning process going forward. Goal 3 is fostering community awareness of cultural history. This is something that we acknowledge the heritage community is already doing really well in a lot of ways, and we have some strategies for supporting what's already happening and also building on that success and expanding that. Goal 4 is enhancing downtown pride and community cohesiveness. This gets a lot at how we create more connections between the business community, the city itself, adjacent cities and other agencies, and of course the heritage community. Goal 5, plan for long-term recovery. This is thinking about some of those longer-term conversations that need to happen about how we navigate things like sea level rise and change through time. And then finally, goal 6, as Amanda mentioned, funding is always an important part of implementation. And so our final goal revolves around developing a realistic and robust funding plan.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. Really quickly, we wanted to share the timeline that we have been engaged in. We began this project back in early March, actually, but over the summer, we have been completing these elements, as you can see here. And we are now, of course, in the spring of 2026. I think the work of IPRI is effectively complete, except that we will take all of the comments that we have received actually in the last week since the document has been online publicly, which includes comments from one of the local tribes that we will incorporate into the final version, as well as any other modifications that you as a council would like us to do, into a final version that we'll give to your staff and that document becomes a living document that can be updated by the staff and by your Heritage All-Star Committee as you're moving forward implementing these wonderful recommendations, and as well as when we the community gets to the readoption or the revisioning of the natural hazard mitigation plan at a county level and at the city level, then these can be incorporated more directly into the next version of the natural hazard mitigation plan. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then I would love actually to see if anybody has any questions at this point. Otherwise, we'll hand it back to Chelsea.
Well, I'll just say that this is a very impressive document and very detailed. So there's a lot to digest in here. And I guess going forward, I guess Chelsea and both of you, I mean, you're going to be on board with this to help us get through this? I mean, there's a lot to accomplish here.
I guess what I'd say is we have to start somewhere. So we have this plan and the framework, and as time and resources allow, and opportunities, funding, whatnot allows, we'll chip away at it.
Okay.
So yes.
No, it's a great document. I mean, it really is. So I want to thank you for all the hard work and what you accomplished in basically a short period of time as far as I'm concerned. So anyway. Chelsea.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll turn it back over to council. It's, we're just asking that you would accept it, adopt it by resolution. You should have the resolution before you, and that will
Yeah,
get
so
us moving.
before we do that, so any of the councilors have any questions or comments?
Yeah, how long has the city been involved in this? And did it start somewhere? And two, where does the funding come from this?
Yeah,
Or
so,
where does the funding for this come from?
so we've been involved in this planning work for the Heritage Resource Disaster Resilience Plan for about a year, and that kind of started when we first received our designation of All-Star Heritage Community. It's funded by FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, so through that hazard fund.
Okay, so it's all federal dollars.
I think federal dollars would be accurate, Amanda?
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to impact the city's budget.
Correct, not going to impact the city's budget.
Thank you.
But there's going to be some involvement with staff, am I correct?
Involvement with the staff?
Well, yeah, you'll be involved in the process.
Yeah, moving forward when it comes to implementing, yes, it'll be staff trying to pick up those pieces and
Sure.
find more funding and, yeah, to do additional work, yes.
Right.
Just a small comment on, I think, page 33 of the document. You reference the Coquille Indian tribe, and you reference that the federal government deprived the tribe of their federal recognition, but really it was terminated. So I would suggest, and I know you probably got feedback from the tribes already, that word is used quite often in all of the historical documents that I've read, so I think terminated is probably a more appropriate word than deprived.
I will let you know, Councilor, that that portion is one of the pieces that we will be amending based on the comments that we received from the tribe actually just yesterday. So yes, we will absolutely be updating that to incorporate their language.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Any other councilors, comments? All right, hearing none, I need a motion to adopt this resolution, please.
Sorry, I'm getting there.
I move we adopt Resolution 26-08, adopting the Coos Bay Heritage Resource Disaster Resilience Plan as refinement plan to the Coos Bay Addendum to the Coos County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 26-08. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. And thank you again for the presentation and all the hard work. And will we see you in the future or not?
You absolutely will. We love working in Coos Bay, and we'll come down whenever we're invited.
All right.
But thank you all for your dedication to the city and to the community and your heritage. And we'll see you later. Have a good night.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye, Carmen.
Next item on the agenda is presentation of the East Side Housing Infrastructure Development Feasibility Study and consideration of adopting Resolution 2609, accepting the findings. Chelsea.
Yes, so this is a project that's an example of the city partnering with outside entity, in this case the Port of Coos Bay. They own a large tract of land, about 110 acres, that's residentially zoned, and they wanted to look at what can they do with it. Can it be developed with housing? We know we have a housing need, so it made sense. So this work was funded by a Business Oregon grant to conduct this feasibility, really with a focus on housing. And so the consultant who led this work is AKS Engineering and Forestry. We have Zach, their representative, here tonight to give a presentation a little more, go over the outcome of that, the details. And then again, in the end, we're asking that it be accepted, adopted by resolution. It really helps emphasize, if council is supportive of the work and the results, that if we go on to take next steps, maybe look at changing zoning or doing other type of work, if we have this adopted by resolution, kind of helps support that future work. But I'll turn it over to Zach.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Zach Pelz. I'm a land use planner with AKS. Nice to see you all. I recognize some of your faces from our open houses. So we're here again. We met with you all in February to give you an outline of the scope of work for this project that we originally kicked off with the city in December. So it's been a real kind of quick pace of work between December and now to look at the feasibility of this site. But we've got our findings in front of you in your packet. I believe you should have had the complete report from us. We're very interested to present this to you and hear your feedback tonight. So again, like Chelsea mentioned, this is a joint effort between the port and the city to identify whether it was feasible to develop residential housing primarily on this approximately 100-acre site in East Side. So the city has a real demand for housing long-term, and the port owns this vacant 100-acre site, so it seemed like a good match. And it was that was really kind of the main question that we were looking into. Does it make sense? Would a private developer pursue development on the site? And so we moved forward with some work that the city had conducted back in 1996 and followed up with later in 2000, and really updated a lot of that work based on kind of current market conditions, current construction costs, current housing price evaluations, and then we met with the community 2 times to talk to them about what their feelings were with regard to development in this area. Next slide, please, Christine. So like I mentioned, this site has been on the city's radar for decades. Since the late 1990s, the city's been talking about potentially residential development on the site. The city has zoned it for residential development. It's a large area that the city's housing needs analysis and buildable lands inventory relies on to accommodate future development in the city. And so one of the findings we're going to leave you with tonight, and I guess spoiler alert, is that it turns out it's not feasible. But one of the findings, our questions we'll leave you with tonight is whether you want to move forward with reconsidering the zoning on that site so that you can reallocate that residential land area somewhere else, and potentially expand the urban growth boundary, expand the city limits to accommodate that future demand on some area that might be more feasible for development. Again, the city needs housing. The port was interested in understanding whether this site was a revenue generating asset that they could use to fund other strategic initiatives. And so that was really the core question that we were answering. Can residential development occur on the site in a way that is feasible? Next slide, please. So our methodology was really built on 4 key pillars: an engineering analysis, an independent market study by Johnson Economics, detailed financial modeling, and a very structured community engagement process. Again, the central question is, can development costs be covered by what the local market would be able to absorb? Next slide, please, Christine. There's really 3 important compounding factors that are working against this site. The ground itself is the first one. There's dredge fill on top of deep, soft soils that is liquefiable during an earthquake. It settles. It requires expensive ground improvement before anything can be built. Second, nearly half the site is potentially jurisdictional wetlands, which is really costly to mitigate. And third, the surrounding infrastructure: roads, bridges, intersections, other public works such as sanitary sewer pump stations are either constrained or at capacity. All those things together work to, I guess, equal expensive development in terms of new residential construction on the site. We met with the community in 2 open houses in March, and once with the Port of Coos Bay Commission also in March to present the study to them and to get feedback. And what we heard overwhelmingly from the residents was that they were in opposition to residential development on the site. So approximately 80% of folks that showed up to those 2 meetings, we had about 70 folks at the first meeting and approximately 50 people at the second meeting. From those people that turned in comment cards, again, 80% were opposed to residential development, primarily because of traffic impacts, concerns about wetland impacts, and also because of concerns about inadequate infrastructure and public safety services in the area. What folks said they did want were recreational park type of facilities, so trails, kind of things that are being used on the site currently. We have some more detailed feedback in the report about the specific range of park-related amenities that folks expressed interest in. But by and large, they were low-intensity recreational types of uses. So here's kind of the bottom line on the finances on this site. So to make money on this site, a private developer would need to sell a 1,500 square foot home for somewhere in the range of $672,000 to $788,000, and that's about $200,000 to $300,000 more than the market can support. And so that's really how we were looking at this analysis. Does the cost to develop the site align with what the market would pay? And this really reveals that the answer is no to that. So this was kind of, this analysis that we're looking here on the slide is an overall build out that matches the site that was idealized in 1996. So the majority of the site consumed by single family residences with some multifamily and some commercial development. Given the cost to expand infrastructure, given the cost to mitigate for wetland impacts and improve the ground, that just turns out that scenario is not realistic. We did evaluate 6 total scenarios. So in addition to that, we looked at a mix of single and multifamily along with commercial. We looked at small lots, single family residential, 68 total lots. We looked at a scenario that was just large lot single family homes with the idea that maybe homes at the higher end could absorb some of those development costs. That was a scenario that we looked at. We looked at a scenario that was primarily focused on new multifamily development in just the southeast corner of the site, where the cost to extend infrastructure and the cost to improve the ground would be significantly lower. And then we looked at 2 non-residential scenarios. One was just waterfront commercial. There was some interest expressed from the community engagement sessions in waterfront commercial. Maybe that would be a good opportunity for some high-end restaurants along the water. And then parks and open spaces, like we heard from the community. In each of those scenarios, the development is not feasible. Parks and open space turns out to be probably the most realistic. However, as you see in the report, if you got to that point, the city's budget really doesn't account for costs associated with developing and maintaining new parks. And so that's another key constraint. The other thing is, like, this is a port-owned property. They're looking to generate some revenue off of the site, right? And dedicating the land to the city as a park and having the city construct and maintain a park doesn't really solve that piece of the equation for the port. So in all of those scenarios that we looked at, there really isn't a great solution in the near term. We also looked at the potential to develop this site with public subsidies. So we looked at whether a 30% subsidy could help offset that cost. And even then, it doesn't work out. It looks like it will take about a 30 to 45% subsidy to make something viable on this site. So that's one of the conclusions we'll leave you with. You know, in the near term, we think that it makes sense to hold on to this property and continue to look for subsidies that might help offset some of these costs. Maybe start with lower impact uses like parks and open spaces, and then see what type of market conditions or changes in the economy happen that might make development on the site viable in the future. So, yeah, the findings are pretty clear. Residential development doesn't work. It's not a matter of design or density. It's really just the structural limitations of the site. And again, that combination of wetlands, geotechnical constraints, and public infrastructure constraints. So we've conclude with sort of a 3-tiered recommendation for next steps. In the near term, we believe that it's important for the city and the port to get together in alignment on how to move forward, and that could potentially be rezoning the site to accommodate some lower impact type of use like parks and open space. Also, start to pursue subsidies or other types of outside revenue sources that can help offset some of those infrastructure cost constraints. And finally, I guess this is advice for the port. Don't commit to a developer or don't commit to a long-term lease on the property until you have a really well-identified plan or numbers confirmed. Because again, the market conditions can change, the availability of subsidies can change over time. I think it just makes sense that some well-thought-out plan be established before moving forward in earnest on a committed project. And that's really, I guess, the extent of the presentation. Like you saw in the packet, there's a lot of details with regard to numbers for each of those scenarios. Didn't want to get into all those details in this presentation, but happy to answer any questions. As Chelsea pointed out, there is a resolution before you tonight to adopt the findings, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I have one. So back in 1996, we were asked to change it from industrial to residential.
Right.
And now we're being asked to change the zoning again. I guess changing the zoning does what for us? I mean, we're already doing an urban growth boundary analysis and moving forward. So changing the zoning, I mean, it's not feasible, so I understand that.
Sure.
So you're saying we suggesting changing the zoning to something else?
Yeah, I think there's like a park-specific zone. It's urban public. Is that the?
Yeah, the urban public.
Okay, so is that going to be beneficial to the port down the road? I mean, are we going to be changing it, if we change it to this zone, go through this and change the zoning, I guess, then are we going to be looking at changing the zoning potentially down the road again?
I think the benefit to the city in changing the zoning is that when you do update your urban growth boundary, you don't have this 100 acres of land allocated for residential development that can't support residential development, right?
Yeah, true. So for me, since I hate to say this, around when we changed the zoning last time, that it was important that we did this residential, and we thought that was the way to go. And so I have been pushing hard because we needed some housing, as you mentioned, needed housing, and finally we have an answer, and I appreciate that. We have clear direction that this is not feasible and not a way to move forward. So it's great to get an answer finally that's definitive, that says this is not going to happen the way we were hoping it was going to happen, and we need to look at other ways to build the housing out to the urban growth boundary or wherever else it is. So I appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the public input. I know Stephanie, I think, was there both times. And Troy. So I appreciate the public input that was gained, and I think it's important that we always get the public involved.
Yep.
So.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a question. Just circling back to the rezoning to urban public, that just makes it clear to developers that it would not be possible to use it for residential and commercial purposes.
So maybe I should take a step back. So I think it's important to have a conversation with the port before kind of landing on any zoning designation. That's one zone you could consider. I think the benefit in changing it from residential to something else, again, is just that it gives the city a lot more opportunity to look for land outside its existing corporate boundary for land that's better suited for residential development, right? So when the city adds land to its corporate limits and urban growth boundary, it has to justify to the state why it needs that land, right? And in this case, the city can say, well, we thought we had 100 acres that could accommodate residential development, but actually don't. And so we need 100 acres plus whatever else we need for that future growth that we're trying to accommodate.
Yeah, in the past, Jacob, we went through a housing needs analysis, and they said we had enough buildable lands, and we said no, we don't. And so this becomes a factor.
Right.
Gotcha. So if you take it off that, consideration,
shrinks that number.
all of a sudden, it makes it better for us, for at least the urban growth boundary, which we're moving forward. And hopefully we'll get that done in short order. So.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
And
anyone else?
I was just going to say that, I attended both meetings, and I did hear what the public had to say, and I do want to mention that there was a lot of discussion about not just infrastructure, but infrastructure such as roads and sidewalks and things like that. And I think it is important to note, especially for people in that community, in that district, that, without some type of growth, things aren't likely to change fast. And that area is in some serious need of work. But growth is important, and that has to be considered. But I am looking forward to getting together with the port to find out next steps, because I completely understand that this has to be, when we have assets, they have to be productive. And it's for that reason, things that the community wants, that we need that productive land.
I just want to again thank the port. So this was a project between the city of Coos Bay and the port, and I think it's worth saying again. I appreciate the partnership and the collaboration, and I'm glad we were able to finally put this question to bed, and I look forward to the conversation that we will have with the port in the future, and thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
Yeah, I'll chime in real quick.
Yes.
I just want to say that, I echo all of the sentiment of, finally having an answer. And I'm also really interested in hearing, or I was interested in hearing about all the public comment. I was unable to attend those meetings, but hearing the need once again for public spaces and recreation always warms my heart, because that is a big part of what I believe makes a community attractive and worth living in and really taken care of. So I don't know what's going to happen with this, and I hope we can find a productive way to use this. But in the meantime, just focusing on ways to make our community more livable and attractive is always a goal of mine. So thanks for all the hard work and this great report, and I'm glad we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you for the report. All right, Council, I need a motion and a second for resolution adoption 2609, please.
I'll move to adopt resolution 2609, accepting the conclusions of the feasibility study.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2609. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the consideration to approve the right-of-way vacation south of 585 Newmark Avenue. Geneva, going to give us a update?
Yes.
Thank you.
So on February 17th, 2026, the City Council initiated a right-of-way vacation to consolidate the parcels at 585 Newmark Avenue and 130 South Wall Street for the future development of a parking lot. Vacating the right-of-way will allow the two parcels to be consolidated. Comments were sought from all city departments, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. The Planning Division stated future development must comply with the Coos Bay Development Code, and following this, I submitted our site plan through the land use application process. All other departments had no concerns. Comments were also solicited from local utility companies. Coos Bay North Bend Water Board requested a permanent access easement to maintain their water main located within the right-of-way. Additionally, Pacific Power requested that acceptable access to their facilities is maintained, which we understood to be through a permanent easement as well. The remaining utilities stated no objections. As the vacation is outside of 1,000 feet of the shoreline, the city is not required to seek input from the International Port of Coos Bay. At the writing of this staff report, city staff had received no public comments for or objections to the proposed vacation. If it pleases council, hold a public hearing to take comments, and if desired, enact an ordinance providing for the vacation of the public right-of-way between 585 Newmark Avenue and 130 South Wall Street.
Thank you. Before you leave, are there any comments from the council for Geneva before we open the public hearing?
I appreciate the map that you put up. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. So at this time, I'll open the public the public hearing for consideration to approve the right-of-way vacation south of 585 Newmark Avenue. Are there any public comments on this item? None online and none in the audience. All right, I'll close the public hearing. And then council, I need a motion to go ahead and approve the right-of-way vacation, please.
I move we enact ordinance providing for the vacation of the public right-of-way between 585 Newmark Avenue and 130 South Wall Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the right-of-way vacation south of 585 Newmark Avenue. Roll call, please.
An ordinance providing for the vacation of a portion of platted right-of-way found in northwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter of Section 20, Township 25 South, Range 13 West of the Willamette Meridian, Coos County, Oregon. Mayor Benetti?
Aye.
Councilor Kilmer?
Aye.
Councilor Stevens?
Aye.
Councilor Cribbins?
Aye.
Councilor Niebergall?
Aye.
Councilor Matthews?
Aye.
Councilor DeNovo?
Aye.
Ordinance number 598 has been duly enacted.
Thank you. Okay, city manager's report.
Yes, thank you. The first thing I wanted to share with you, the opportunity zones for across the nation are going to be opening up, and Oregon is taking an opportunity to work that through Business Oregon. We are very fortunate here that we have already engaged some folks to start a regional process that we can hopefully elevate our zones as a region, which would be very selective. That process is involving CCD, who covers Coos, Curry, and Douglas County, and then also bringing in a consultant, Stephen Brooks, who's helping with some other things that the city's been working on. And we're just pulling together partners. So we're going to grab all the local jurisdictions, as many folks who have interest in what the opportunity zone designations will be. It's important we do this together because these are likely to remain permanent. So we want to be really thoughtful about this process and make sure that we capture a fair representation across our region. So we make sure, we all know if we grow together, we're better served future-wise. So I just want to let you know that starting, it's a short window. It was released a couple weeks ago from Business Oregon, and we have to kind of put this together by the end of May, get an application in with our preferred zones, and the governor will make the final decisions on that in July through September range. They become effective January 1st of 27.
Okay.
Does this change the designations that we have already? Okay.
Possibly could, right? They essentially happen based upon our census tracts. So those are determined by the federal government, and those are already identified. We then can, each state can pick 25% of our census tracts that have been designated to be in an opportunity zone. We just really want to make sure that we have rural input so that we don't end up with just a really heavy urban core of opportunity zones, that we acknowledge that the urban and rural contribution should be more equal so that we all together are kind of helping grow this state. So
can you explain to us and citizens what an opportunity zone does?
Yeah, good question. I am just learning this as well. So it's a tax incentive essentially for developers. It is not something that is managed by a city or a jurisdiction. It is an opportunity for us to essentially market our areas, and then investors would come in and they work with a consultant to do that investment. It won't be within our responsibility to manage that. CCD will put together a package of marketing along with SCDC, so we're really fortunate to have really two robust organizations who both understand and can market this for us and bring together the right people at the table. So we aren't fighting over who gets what. We can really be thoughtful about what we want investment to be in our communities.
So it's just another tool to help with the economic development.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
Serve on the So Ready board in Medford, and they were talking about the very same thing, and they were also talking about, if I understand this correctly, that the new market credits program is now, it's not being sunsetted. So that is
Agreed.
yet an additional incentive to drive development to the communities.
And that is the reason why it's really important that we have Stephen Brooks at the table, because he understands that layering.
Great.
So when we build our marketing material, he will help us inform what that looks like, so we make sure we're talking about that incentive. Yeah.
Will the council get to see that document before it's submitted?
We can certainly talk about that. We would want to have as many members, right? We can only have 3 of you folks participating in the process because we'll want a collective making this decision. I can forward the invite just came out, I think Monday from CCD, so I can forward to you guys and who's ever available. I think it's coming up. I don't remember the date, but it's coming up pretty quick. So whoever's available, we'd love to have you attend. And then from those meetings, the application kind of will develop itself.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Secondly, we are not planning to have a work session next week. Looking at what was on the advanced agenda, those are items that we can move to a different date. We understand there's potentially some conflicts with scheduling, so we want to make sure we have enough folks at the table to have some good conversation around the items that we would want to present next week. Reminder, our first budget meeting is coming up on May 7th. And then this Saturday, I know we had a reminder about it before, but just always good to talk about it one more time. Family Fun Day is coming up on Saturday from 10 to 2. And that's an event that is hosted, sponsored by the Kids Hope Center, and again, acknowledging the great work that they do in our community. There are a lot of organizations that participate in this event, but for Kids Hope Center, they do the big lift. So just letting folks know that it's a John Toppet's pretty big event, lots of fun things for kids there, fishing, just lots of stuff. So if you have time, check it out.
Anything else?
That's what I got.
All right, council comments. Sarah?
No comments, thank you.
Carmen?
I don't have any comments this evening either.
Okay. Troy?
Pretty short. I just want to say, based on our proclamation of Volunteer Week and Arbor Day, that I would like to reiterate that and encourage our citizens, especially our youth, to engage with our city so that we can continue to grow the city that we want to have and be a thriving, forward-thinking community.
Thanks, Troy. Lucinda?
It's hard to follow up with that, but I will try. I want to thank the staff. I see that we've taken the glass down on the boardwalk in the structure, and it looks like a fresh new space. So thank you very much. I also see that we're doing some weeding and getting it tidied up for the season. Again, thank you as well for that. Mayor Benetti, as everyone knows, we walk that path quite often, and there are some planters that are in need of flowers. And so I would like to ask council, we can find a date. We've decided that we should plant flowers that would be appropriate for this region, that would not be would require a lot of water, and that would be easy for staff to take care of. But at some point, we'd like in the month of May to have a flower planting session. And so I would hope that all councilors will join us in that to help continue to beautify that boardwalk we love so much.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I see Rob over there laughing because he knows what a green thumb I have. I did want to mention that this weekend also, when you get done at the Family Fun Day, that the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce is hosting a home show April 24th, 25th, 26th, and a lot of things that are going to be happening there. It's all indoors except for some of the folks that needed to be outdoors. But it kicks off Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and runs Sunday through 4 p.m. I mean, not all night, but during the day. And then also wanted to get on folks' calendar that the first Coos Bay Downtown Association Farmers Market is May 6th. And so a lot of folks are looking forward to that. Again, thank you to all the volunteers and all the work that our staff is doing, especially with all these great items that we had on our agenda tonight.
Jacob?
Yeah, I'll echo the comments about volunteerism. It's good to get out there and volunteer in some way, shape, or form in your community. So, yay. I'll also say that for grades 3 and up in our school district, we're starting state testing next week. So if we can keep those kids well fed and well rested to be successful on those, I'll just throw that out in the community. If you've got kids or grandkids, that's what we're working on the next few weeks. So that's all I've got.
All right, thanks. So a couple things. I always I also take a walk, not always with Lucinda, but today I took a walk around Mingus Park, and it reminded me to see that the restrooms are finished and look great, and so it's wonderful that that's done. Also, I have I'm going to be walking in the Rose Parade, and so I was invited by the Mayor, Wilson, to do that. I've done it in 2016, and it was enjoyable, and I'm inviting all the counselors to walk with me if they like, or staff, and I called. There will only be one mayor's sash, but I don't really care about that. If I could get more to join me, I think that we could probably get some shirts printed up that say Coos Bay or sweatshirts, and it's at night. It's June 6th, Saturday, from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., and so they're joining the two festivals together. It's going to be the Carrot Oregon Portland Rose Festival Grand Floral Starlight Parade. Anyway, I think it might be fun, and we can participate in that and get a good turnout. So I'm hoping to round some of you up and see if we can get you to do that. Also, I always hear that there's nothing ever going on in this area and nothing to do. Well, 2 instances are the Fun Day and the Home Show, and then I also saw Lydia, our Coos Art Museum director. They always have something going on there. So there's lots of things and activities going on. And again, just a shout out to all our volunteers. And those are the end of my comments, and I want to thank everyone for attending and participating. So I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.